Oh, 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 oh.
Welcome to Multiple O's, the spin-off podcast for The O Show. The O Show is hosted by Dr. Oriana Fox, the artist with a PhD in self-disclosure. You hopefully know the spiel by now. If you're interested in candid confessions, creativity, nonconformity, and mental health, you've come to the right place. This, my friends, is season 2 of this podcast, which explores the crossover between working on the self and working to change the world. Have you ever said to yourself, I love that Oriana Fox makes art all the time? Well, if you have, now you can say it with your wallet. Go to patreon.com/Oriana Fox and support this lovely podcast and artist. Back in May, that's May 2021, Oriana was invited to do a digital residency on Instagram for the lovely Mimosa House Gallery in London. And over the course of 1 week, she conducted 20 interviews. It was live, it was unfiltered, and uninhibited. Whew. But now, they're being re-released as podcast episodes, edited for your listening pleasure.
Hi there, this is Oriana. Thank you to my returning listeners. I really appreciate your support. And I just want to remind you that you can help people find this podcast, not only by recommending it to friends, but also by rating and reviewing. You can do that wherever you listen to your podcast, so things like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I'm excited to be sharing my interview with the artist, mother, activist, and labor counselor Lena Simic this week. She and I discuss how she balances those varying roles and also her particular approach to activism and art. And activism and creativity are a kind of recurring theme within this season 2 of Multiple O's. So without further ado, here's the interview. Thank you. Welcome to the O Show, the live edition, courtesy of Mimosa House, London. I'm very excited to be seeing you all this morning. It's a beautiful morning, and I'm so glad that you can enjoy this beautiful day in front of your screens. But I'm going to make it worth your while, because the guest today is really fantastic. She is an inspiration to me because she is amazing at juggling the competing demands of being an artist, a mother, an educator, and a citizen. She is very active as an activist. And I know she's going to be extremely influential for you as well in getting you up off the couch, up out of your armchair, and joining the picket line. So without further ado, let me welcome in Lena Simic.
Hello.
Yay!
I managed.
Thank you. Yes, a great round of applause for Lena. Okay, so I'm so glad you're here because I have a confession to make, and I think you're the right person to make this confession to, because I know you can help me. I read Lean In, as one does, and then I started to read the sequel by Don Foster, different author. Strange that a sequel would be by a different author, but so Lean Out tells me that that a woman's life should not revolve solely around the workplace and the family, that one could have a civic life as well. Okay. And I know, and I feel I have, I've done okay in the work and the family arena, and I have friends. I'm very grateful for all of that, but I think I could be doing more as a citizen. And I just want to learn from your experience. I know you have lots to teach us.
Well, I don't know. Well, the thing is, I am at the moment a part of this amazing reading group, which is on the human condition by Hannah Arendt. And we meet it's run by Bard College and Roger Berkowitz, Professor Roger Berkowitz. And we meet every Friday at 6 p.m. And I absolutely adore it. Because, see, this book is about vita activa. So in a way, it's about political life and how do you become an active citizen in a way. So how did this happen to me? It's a long story. But in a way, I think family life and actually becoming a mother helped on this journey. Because in a way, once you have a baby, for me at least, it was a massive transformative journey of thinking, what is this world about? Look at it. It's so messed up. How are we going to live in this world together with these little tiny children too? So in a way, it activated me towards being much more politically active. First of all, maybe through social movements and just going to demonstrations, being part of whatever was happening. Anti-globalization, it was at the time 2000, so I was very much part of that, anti-capitalism. And then following on, there was a protest anti-Iraq war and so on. And then, of course, climate justice and climate movements, so that was important as well. And then somehow, and it's in a way thanks to Jeremy Corbyn, really, and the social movement that formed momentum around that, and the world transformed, that I got myself involved more into mainstream politics. So now I'm also a councillor at Liverpool City Council, and I am also a chair of Environment and Climate Change Select Committee. So in a way, I'm working much more inside the political system, which is quite different to the work that I was doing as an artist activist and kind of doing my political art practice primarily through the Institute for the Art and Practice of Dissent at Home. So it's now being an artist, activist, politician, but it's also mother and being confused about it all as well.
I forgot to mention that some key facts from your bio, which is that you have 4 boys.
Yeah.
So, mother, she's not just she's really 4 boys, a mother. And also she's originally from Dubrovnik and has lived in Liverpool and continues to live in Liverpool since how many years?
2000. So
since 2000. Oh, the same as me. I came to the UK in 2002. So great. So yeah, could you just talk a little bit more about how you incorporated activism with your domestic life to begin with before moving on to this new move to actually go into politics?
Into politics, yeah. See, because I became a mother quite early on at the age of 25. So in a way, it was, the children were always kind of as if part of my life as an artist as well. And in a way, it was easier, I think, because I had much more energy, I think, to do everything. When being a younger mom, it really helped me with kind of we went to live in Thailand actually for a while, which was really important. When my first child was 1, me and Gary, my former partner, we decided that we just needed something else, and we went to Thailand, and we lived in Thailand for 1 year, and we were teaching English, actually drama classes as well. And there we met a fantastic woman called Sonia. And she was from Australia, and she was a proper activist. She was working with Greenpeace, and she really, she was also our child's babysitter. So I think it's quite important to people that you meet in your life and how they inspire you. And so we used to spend so much time discussing the world and utter injustice that exists in the world. I think it's, you can see it everywhere around you, the levels of poverty and the levels of inequality. And then you wonder, well, how can you live in this world? And what's your responsibility towards it? How are you going to change it? You have to. So in a way, Sonia was very crucial in that early developmental stage of, in a way, deciding to become an activist. Before Sonia, there was a moment when we went to May Day 2001 demonstration in London with a baby. Neil was then 7 months old. And this was the first ever cattle that happened in the UK. We didn't get cattled in, but we had an experience with a 7-month-old baby where we were running away from the police, from this kind of masses of people. And I was there with the baby, and it was really exciting. And there was other activists who were kind of helping us and moving us out of the way. So we kind of realized that in a way it's a very much solidarity experience being in a protest. And this was anti-capitalism. It was an anti-globalization protest at this time. And, because we were asking, how are we going to live now with a baby? Is this all about consumerism? This was early 2000s, and it was a kind of consciousness around that. Is this how we're going to live? And then, we discovered people like Reverend Billy as well, Reverend Billy and Church of Stop Shopping, and they were quite inspirational. So in a way, those were the kind of people we met or whom we read about and then met later. We met Reverend Billy later, but they were quite crucial. So I think it's important kind of which people you encounter and how they influence you and what they bring into your life. And when I met you, you really inspired me in the live art therapy, DIY workshop. That was fantastic, because that was for me. At that time, I was very active in lots of collective projects, like Free University of Liverpool, which was about Free University of Liverpool was very much about a reaction against introduction of 9,000 student fees in the UK. So that was an important kind of project. But I remember kind of, and at the time I was very much involved with the Institute and lots of activities we were doing around that, like politics and aesthetics reading group. But then when I met you and we did live art therapy, after that I was inspired to do a solo performance show, autobiographical show, which was called 1994, Yes. But then I had another baby, so I didn't tour it as much. Maybe one day I'll return to it. Who knows?
I hope so. But could you say more about how you actually, what forms of activism have you done other than the kind of, traditional going out on the picket line? You've been very innovative, in the way that you've incorporated it with family life and defying kind of normative expectations about family life. And could you speak a bit more about that?
Well, yes, what we did at the time, it was in 2007 and 2008, particularly with the Liverpool Capital of Culture. Gary and I set up the Institute for the Art and Practice of Dissent at Home. And in a way, this space was just in spare bedroom of our home. And we tried to create a space in the house where we could meet with other people and where we could discuss philosophy and art and politics, aesthetics, and kind of start to build some solidarity networks as well. Now, why was this at home? There was lots of reasons, but one of the primary reasons was because at the time we had small children, and actually going out into the world was very difficult. It was very expensive. We didn't have much money. So we ran the Institute by 10% of our funding. So of the salaries we received, of all the money that came into the household, we said we will put 10% and start running this art project, this art activist project. And in a way, then the Institute itself started generating its own money later on. But in the beginning, that was how we set it up. Now with the children were there, and we were wondering, how do we go about bringing up children so that they are also active citizens, so that they are critical thinkers with love and criticality of the world. So that was quite important for us. So it was almost like bring the others into the family, and do some events inside the home, but then also as a family unit to start to engage in certain projects together with the children. So, for example, we were part so we would go to some festivals, we would get invited. Like, for example, there was a festival, an arts admin called 2 Degrees, which was about climate change. And so as a family, we did a performance where we kind of looked at critically at ourselves as transnational family. I come from Dubrovnik, Croatia originally. And to which degree we used airplanes, and so we confessed to the audiences there. We written out all the airport codes on this. We had this big red banner that all the, not all the airplane rides, but like all the air flights, but all the airport codes that we've been at. And so in a way, it was like a way of looking back into our family life and realizing these things. So in order to do the performance, you have to do a reflective journey on this. And then as a part of performance, we ripped our airplane tickets and instead went on to slow travel with the family on the journey. And this was... this was good because it was actually real life. I think we used probably the funding that we received from the arts admin to do this, and so that was a way of kind of integrating our life as a family. In our case, this transnational family with travel and thinking about climate issues and traveling, and then of course with the children, because you are. You're traveling, you're discussing this. Why are we going on train? What does that mean? Why aren't we flying? You are kind of experiencing time in a different way. Then also later on, in 2015, there was COP21 in Paris. And for that, we organized, it started as an institute, first of all, but we started connecting with other families, art activist families, or just families that we knew, who could also travel, who were interested in climate. And so we were asked, or not even that they were interested in climate, we were inviting them into the conversation. Hey, how about we all, as Family Activist Network, go to Paris for COP21. So that was another project which then created a new network, Family Activist Network, which was then became bigger than the Institute. So in a way, I think the Institute was a space through which we could connect to the outside world and other families. So then I think it was around 24, 25 of us. So we were like this group of adults with children and babies and prams traveling to Paris, slow traveling to Paris and staying together in Hotel Baby. and going and joining demonstration, and we had banners and we were all dressed in red, and so we were also documenting our experience, everyone in their own different way. So those were some of the projects, in a way, how we were engaging in family life and art activism at the same time. So
it sounds really enjoyable. I can see why you would, definitely make space in your life for that. So yeah, I know this, obviously we, as you mentioned, we know each other from this workshop I ran. And I remember you saying that you raised your children Catholic because you wanted to give them something to rebel against. And that's similar to my mother who had us raised Jewish so that we'd have something to rebel against. Of course, not her religion, but my father's, conveniently for her. So I'm just wondering, was that like a tactic to make sure that they wouldn't rebel against your politics? Or is there debate in the household around politics?
Yeah, well, you never know. I mean, that's the problem, isn't it? You don't know. They might rebel against all this radical upbringing or whatever, and want to have a nice, quiet life. I think with Catholicism, it wasn't so... We put them in Catholic school, but it wasn't very much, kind of a Catholic upbringing. It was, I think, what was good about going to Catholic school, primary school. Actually, now my little one is in Anglican school, so I'm not that
Okay.
that bent on it. But however, what I think is very important is that there's some kind of spirituality in kids' life. I think this idea of metaphysics, of I love like angels and saints and, just having this fantasy world in my head. It was such an important part of my growing up to have prayers and to think about beyond somewhere else, and I think this was good for the children. I mean, it's difficult with critical thinking because sometimes I think, I'd say this now, like, I did a PhD and sometimes I think it ruined my life, because, like, I mean, of course it provided me with like a career and all of that. But in terms of thinking and becoming a critical thinker, it's kind of like, oh Lord, it would be better to be ignorant and just be happy,
Okay, I've got to switch gears here. Okay, so moving swiftly on. So more recently, you've done. You mentioned the work as a counselor, yeah, and artist for Corbin, the kind of work you've been doing around in that vein. And you shared with me a video you made where you're holding this banner that says "Artist for Corbin," a big giant red banner, and you're going to different locations with it, and including the beach, and it's being blown wildly in the wind, and it's just you and your colleague, your comrade, the name I is escaping me now, and you were remarking that this kind of crazy weird action kind of got people's passersby attention, and then that could maybe spark some conversations. Did you have conversations with people?
Yes.
What kinds of discussions, or like how do you? My kind of second part of the question is like, how do you deal with people with opposing views?
Yes. Well, with the banner, with the actions that we used to do with the banner, it's finished now. It's like this was a moment in history that we didn't grab. So. But with the banners, in a way, it was like a bit like an intervention, performance intervention. So we would carry this massive banner, and we were in a way doing improvisations and performances in the street. So we would gather the audience around us, and it was at the time we were campaigning. There was either in campaign mode, so some of those performances you would have seen happened during the campaign mode anyway, so before general election, and then others they happened after in marginals. So we would go around marginal constituencies and we would do actions there. So in a way, with political system here in the UK, because it's based on first past the poll, so in a way there are all these marginal constituencies at which it's all about numbers politics, like how it is stuck now. So you have to win those marginal constituencies. So we were concentrating on those, and we were going and making also days out of it. It wasn't very, usual political action. See, I always have around me like nice what are these leaflets? We've just had Joanne Anderson. She's the first.
Congratulations.
Yes, she's the first Black woman mayor in any core city in the UK. So,
and do you feel as if you played a part in that personally?
Well, am I playing the part? Look at me there. I'm there as well.
Oh, there you are. So,
well, I am, of course. I'm part of a labor group in Liverpool. So
I figured as much.
Yes. But, okay, so this is like what I would say kind of a traditional campaigning, right? So you're posting these leaflets to the houses and so on. But with the banner, it was a bit more expressive, a bit more, artistic campaigning. So it was different. And of course, people come and talk and you have conversations. But you can have conversations on the doorstep, just door knocking as well. So.
But how do you win people over? Do you win people over?
Who
I mean,
knows?
I'm sure you're capable of winning people over, but yeah, like what are there techniques that you use, like when facing someone with really oppositional views, or what do you do?
You never know that. You don't know what
You don't know. I
will
get
happen. This is what I learned from Hannah Arendt reading group. You do action, but you don't know where is it going to lead.
Right. Yeah.
So you don't know. I mean, I can't say.
So you open yourself up to indeterminate possibility. It's liberatory because you don't know how that interaction is going to go. And
I mean, you would want it to go somewhere.
You want it to go somewhere. You have a goal. It's not like your goal is just for it to be open-ended, but you are aware that it's open-ended.
Yeah, it's very open-ended, and it can be very, very disappointing, and it can be. Politics is so much hard work. It's so much negotiation. It's all I'm doing is just constantly feeling I have to negotiate as a councillor between residents and services and myself and activists, people in power. Myself, so you become in a different role, I think, than say if you're an artist activist.
And I had a question, but it's just gone out of my brain. Oh yes. How do you avoid burnout? Like, have you ever felt like you're on the brink of being burned out by? I know that activist burnout is very real, and I know you're balancing a lot of things. And do you ever feel like you had more time for, other things? Is politics taking up more of the chunk these days, or?
I think I think in a way, your live arts therapy was a kind of a help towards. I know it is, because in a way it returned me back to myself and away from maybe facilitation towards kind of doing something for yourself, which was this autobiographical solo performance, which I don't think it was brilliant, but it was good for me, and I think that's really important, I think, how do I avoid burnout? I set deadlines to myself, so I know that, how long I still have left as a councillor, and so I know after that it will be finished. And also you have to say no to things. I think the older I get, the better I am at saying no, I'm sorry, So that's a big part of it. And I don't apply to anything anymore, which is good. It's only no, because you don't create more work. So you wait maybe for things to come to you.
Well, you replied to me.
No, I don't apply. You asked me to do
apply
this.
As opposed to reply.
Yeah. I don't apply.
No, you didn't reply. You don't.
No. I reply, but I don't apply.
Okay, that's a very. I just misheard you.
Or maybe less. Okay, maybe less applications. Less.
Ah, that's good. I see. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yes, it's better if you wait for things to come to you, not seek. It's better, maybe.
Yeah. So you obviously have these key mentors who helped you to engage with activism and inspired you. But do you have any kind of advice for anyone who's very comfy in their armchair activism? Like how to get them? I mean, obviously, part of what you were saying was interesting, though, about the Institute of Dissent at Home, is that it was about discussion. And, it was about being together with people. Maybe part of what keeps people in their armchair is like the sense that politics is like this thing that happens outside and this kind of extrovert atmosphere, and introverts might find that or you don't know whether that's going to be effective. Like sometimes it just seems like people are going out there and protesting and it doesn't do anything, whereas having kind of conversations with people, that would feel like more fulfilling. Maybe I'm answering my own question.
No, you're right. You don't need me. No, it's true. I think you need to create your own networks, isn't it? I mean, I think that's really important, is to find your own community groups. Doesn't even have to be in your community, but your own groups of people at some level that you feel passionate about in terms of context. So, what is your context? I think this is a very crucial. That was one of the good questions I've learned through doing PhD. It was at the time, it was in a way to try to understand your context. What is it that matters to you really? What do you want? Who, with which people? And then in a way, you can work within that context. And not everyone has to, there's many roles for everyone. Not everyone has to be an extrovert. So many people work behind the scenes, or, that are probably even more important, than people who speak and are presenters, politicians.
So, in response to that, I have one, maybe this should be the last question, because I'm sure you're busy and need to get on with things. But the question is, again, to do with the armchair activists out there who are wanting to do more. But maybe I think part of it is you're talking about, finding these communities and figuring out what's important to you in your context. But it's just, there's so many things. That's what I think, it's so overwhelming. It's I care about the environment. I care about women's rights. I care about, LGBTQ issues. I care about, there's, anti-capitalism. I care about socialism. I care about all these things. But how do I decide, which one to take action on? It's it's like writer's block. It's you've got too much on your plate, and you just
go to a DIY workshop by Live Art Development Agency.
So we're advertising for Lada,
or any workshop that is going to help you. It's a bit of a retreat. We did one DIY some time ago as the Institute, which was called First Retreat, then Advance. So first, stop and think. Find out what it is you really are passionate about. I don't know, go to therapy, go to live art workshop, go to writing workshop, or just sometimes one of the methods I use is I set a timer and then I write for a long time, or not long time, but for a time to find out what is it that I really want. And then act on it, or do a performance about it. I mean, that's brilliant form of activism, is actually creating an artwork or a painting. I don't know, I couldn't paint, but do a performance, painting, photograph. It's or even get together with a group of your friends and discuss issues. What is it that you're concerned about? What bothers you the most? I think that's a good question. What bothers you?
That is a good question.
What stops you sleeping at night? Huh? And then it will come to you.
That is such helpful advice.
Okay.
I'm so pleased that I got the chance to speak to you about this. And I'm sure the audience appreciated it as well. And I will let you get on with your day now, I think, unless there's anything else you want to say.
No, this was my first ever Instagram Live. I've never done this.
This is my second.
I might become more active here.
Oh, good. Yay. Yes, we need to see you here.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
I hope you found that interview with Lena inspiring, and that you're going to go out and do whatever you can to make a difference towards the causes that you feel most passionately about.
Next time on Multiple
O's, we are going to be having another artist who's also a mother, who makes work about being a mother, the artist Hannah Ballou. And Hannah, excitingly, has agreed to do some follow-up questions with me, because the project we spoke about during the Instagram Live interview was very much in progress at the time, and then it kind of came to fruition afterwards. So we're going to be discussing the end result and the responses that she's been getting to the project. So yeah, that's something to look forward to next time on Multiple O's. Thanks for listening. Thanks for continuing to listen. Thanks for getting to this point in this episode to hear me say, I hope you will accept yourselves unconditionally, your lives and other people, because we're all just fallible human beings.